unreal, and to attach your fantasy to a non-existent being. Do you know who she is? No, I have no idea. Really, I said, you are very little judgment. Your discretion has been affected. Anyway, so he remonstrates with him, and finally he gets him to forget. So there's something about falling in love in a dream. Now, this is another great story. The next one is falling in love at first sight. It's from the poet Yusuf ibn Harun, another poet known at that time, obviously, to them, better known as al-Ramadi. He was one day passing the gate of the perfumers in Cordoba. I've been to Cordoba, it's still a beautiful town. A place where ladies were wont to congregate. When he saw a young lady, this is like Dante now, who he said, entirely captured my heart. This is how Dante encounters Beatrice 300 years later in the Divine Comedy. So you see, I don't think Dante is original in that he's already preceded by this kind of love narrative. And he sees this young lady. He's totally captivated. And by the way, the servants, slaves, whatever you want to call them, are not really looked upon as lesser beings. They're just not in a very good economic state and are tied economically to someone. So I think that the treatment of their so-called slaves, servants, is not a cruel sort of treatment. They're part of the community. These could be a slave as well as a freed woman. It doesn't matter at all. And all my limbs were penetrated by love for her. So he turned aside from the mosque and followed her across the bridge to a place known as Arabat. She reached the mausoleum of the Banu Marwan. Now, you've done enough of this class now with me to know, who are the Banu Marwan? What happened to the Umayyad dynasty after the death of Muawiyah's son, Yazid? Marwan, his secretary, took over because there were no offspring, and all the future Umayyad caliphs were known as the sons of Marwan. So the Umayyads in Spain are the Banu Marwan, the sons of Marwan. That would mean these are the mausoleum of the Umayyad rulers in Spain. God have mercy on their souls. It was erected over their graves in the cemetery of Arabat, and she observed me following her. And she went up to me, or him rather, why are you walking behind me? And he told her how smitten he was. Have done with that. Do not seek to expose me to shame. You will not achieve your purpose. You will not gratify your desire. I am satisfied merely to look on you. The Dante-Beatrice relationship, he said, that is permitted you, she replied. Then he asked her, my lady, are you a free woman or a slave? I'm a slave. You see, even though she's a slave, she's free. And what is your name? Halwa, she told him. And to whom do you belong? By Allah, you are likely to know what inhabits the seventh heaven. Then the answer to that question, seek not the impossible. See, he treats her like a lady. It's not as if she's an inferior being. My lady, he begs, where may I see you again? Where you saw me today, at the same hour every Friday. Now go off, or shall I? You go off. You go off is what it should hear, he replied. And she passed the bridge, and he came after her, but he could not see where she went. I have frequented the Perfumes Gate in Rabat from then until now, but I have never come upon any further news of her. And I know not whether the heavens devoured her or whether the earth swallowed her up, and the feelings I have in my heart on her account are hotter than burning coals. This is the Halwa, whose name he celebrates, this poet, in his love lyrics. Well, that's Dante. That's Dante 300 years later. I say, so what? Well, I just think it's really interesting that this is already happening in Islamic Spain. I wish the Islamic world, frankly, were like this today, honestly. I think that if the Islamic world were like this today, it would be a happier place, and the world would be a happier place, and we'd be with some extremely sensitive, civilized people. I don't think Muslims themselves know how sensitive and civilized their culture was, frankly. And that's why I really honestly feel it's worth reading this, whether you're a Westerner or an Easterner, so that you can learn what a high culture was and what may be perhaps better to strive towards than sitting in a cave out in Afghanistan someplace and wishing destruction on the whole universe. It seems to me that this is something exquisite and tremendously admirable for any culture. Say, oh, you just want, cigar store Muslims, like you used to want maybe Indians. No, I don't. I appreciate civilized people wherever you find them, whether they're Muslim, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, or atheist. The person is civilized, they're civilized. And this is extremely civilized material, I think you'll agree. I indeed marvel, 171, how profoundly all those pretend to fall in love at first sight. That's how I feel too. I can't believe that people can fall in love at first sight. I cannot easily prevail upon myself to believe their claim and further consider such love as merely a kind of lust, as for thinking that sort of attachment can really possess the innermost heart. So this is Ibn Hazm being philosophical and quite modern, as you see. And penetrate the veil of the soul's recess. I cannot, under any circumstance, credit. Now, you see, this is adab literature risen to really very great heights. Love has never truly gripped me, my inside, save after a long time, constant companionship with the person concerned. And you see, this can be male or females, sharing with him all that while my every occupation, be it earnest or fruitless. So it can be male or female, and obviously he's not going to be able to share much time in this environment with a female person. And he also gives one of his poems here. I don't think his poems are in translation do much. Now, union. The first device employed, 172, for those who seek union is to disclose their feelings. I know a man who commenced his declaration of love by quoting to his lady some verse of his own composition. So, the union with the beloved. Now, as it turns out, as we're moving into Sufism, Islamic mysticism, which is mostly expressed in poetry, some treatises, but mostly poetic treatises, the Sufi is looking also for union. And what the Sufi does, Sufi is the word in Islam for mystic. I guess we didn't read that thing. I should have go back and read it after this. I'll do that from Jais about the two ascetics or mystics who come into the town and see the ostrich. We'll go back and look at that momentarily after I finish Ibn Hazm. But no one knows what the word Sufi comes from. They think the word Sufi in Arabic is wool, a woolen garment they may have worn, like a Buddhist might have worn a saffron robe. But it's not clear what it actually means.